Ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand as you are able for the presentation of the colors by the Albert Gallatin JROTC under the direction of SFC Barbara Harmon, directly followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hold. Vote. Reason. Hold. Sir, Albert Gallatin Junior ROTC color guard special permission to post the color, sir.
Permission granted.
Thank you, sir. Order. Hold. Center. Face. Post. Center. Face. Reason. Hold.
I pledge allegiance to
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Over. Out. Center. Face. Forward. Up. Out. Center. Face. Post. Out. Reason. On. Order. On. Center. Face. Forward. March. 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 As you were. Color guard. Hold. Center. Face. Post. Forward. March. March.
Representative Matthew Dowling will now present our invocation.
We'd ask you to bow your heads as your individual faith background allows to join us in prayer. Heavenly Father, we know that you are with us here today. We know that you have counted our days and you have numbered the hairs on our head. We thank you for the abundant blessings that we have as citizens of the United States of America, as Pennsylvanians. We thank you for the many blessings you've given to us in our life. We know that you have opened doors that no one can shut, and that you shut doors that no one can open. We thank you for today's rain. While it has inconvenienced us or changed us, we know that it will yield a great harvest among our land. We thank you and ask you for an extra special blessing today for the men and women who have proudly served in our armed forces. We ask that you continue to bless them and their families. We ask all these things in your great and loving name. Amen.
Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to be seated. Thank you. Good afternoon, veterans, family members, and residents of the 51st Legislative District. My name is David Slusarek, friend of State Representative Matthew Dowling, and on behalf of Representative Dowling and his office, I thank you for taking the time to join us in honoring those who have given so much to our country, Commonwealth, and community. As a member of a military family, I'm honored to be serving as the MC for today's ceremony. As we gather here today on Armed Forces Day, a day when Americans celebrate and pay tribute to the men and women who serve the United States Armed Forces, we also pause to remember those who did not make it home from their tour of duty. Most of us, fortunately, have not been deeply touched by the loss or the unknown whereabouts of a loved one who served in the military. We go about our daily rituals with little thought of those who died in combat, those still listed as missing in action, or even those who may possibly still be held as prisoners of war. Our day should not be dismally overshadowed by such atrocities. However, we should never forget the sacrifices made by our military men and women, and especially those who gave the ultimate sacrifice, their life. To honor and remember those who paid the ultimate sacrifice, the Albert Gallatin JROTC will now perform the Table of Remembrance ceremony.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Cadet Second Lieutenant Tyrell Thompson. Today we will honor and pay tribute to those who have served and those who are currently serving in the uniformed services of the United States of America. They are ever mindful that the sweetness of enduring peace has been tainted by the bitterness of personal sacrifice. We are compelled to never forget that while we enjoy our daily pleasure, there are others who have endured and may still be enduring the agonies of pain, deprivation, and imprisonment. Today, we pause to recognize our POWs and MIAs. To our fallen and missing comrades, you may have noticed a small table in a place of honor. It's set for one. The table is our way of symbolizing the fact that the members of our profession of arms are missing from our midst. They're commonly called POWs or MIAs. We call them brothers. They are unable to be with us tonight, and so we remember. This table set for one is small, symbolizing the frailty of one prisoner alone against his oppressors. Remember, the tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms. Remember, a single red rose displayed in a vase reminds us of the families and loved ones of our comrades in arms who keep the faith awaiting their return. Remember, the red ribbon tied so prominently on the vase is reminiscent of the red ribbon worn upon the lapel and breast of thousands who bear witness to their unyielding determination to demand a proper accounting of our mission. Remember, the candle. The candle is lit, symbolizing the upward reach of their unconquerable spirit. Remember, a slice of lemon is on the bread plate to remind us of their bitter fate. Remember, there is salt upon the bread plate, symbolic of the family's tears as they wait. Remember, the glass is inverted. They cannot toast with us this night. Remember, the chair. The chair is empty. They're not here. Remember all of you who served with them and called them comrades, who depended upon their might and aid and relied upon them, for surely they have not forsaken you. Remember until the day that they come home. Remember.
Thank you to the members of the Albert Gallatin JROTC for your participation in today's service. We now move on to our first speaker of the afternoon. In November 2007, at the age of 18, our keynote speaker joined the United States Marines. Upon completion of boot camp in February 2008, he went on to the Infantry Training Battalion, after which he was assigned to the 1st Battalion, 8th Marines as an 81 mortar gunner. In March 2009, he was deployed to Iraq for a 7-month tour. Shortly after his return home from his first tour in September 2009, Corporal Brandon Rumbaugh was deployed to Afghanistan, where he was squad leader. Having already suffered multiple injuries from IED explosions during his second tour, Corporal Rumbaugh's life dramatically changed one day during a routine security patrol. As he attempted to aid a fellow Marine who was wounded from stepping on an IED, Corporal Rumbaugh triggered a secondary IED within just 20 feet of his comrade, resulting in the loss of both legs. After spending nearly 2 years undergoing extensive medical therapy at Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Washington, D.C., he returned to his hometown of Uniontown. In September 2012, at the age of 24, Corporal Rumbaugh retired medically from military service after 5 years of active duty. Having dedicated his life to his country, Corporal Rumbaugh is now committed to serving his community through charitable works and inspiring others with his motivational story of perseverance, loyalty, and faith. Please welcome my friend Marine Corporal Brandon Rumbaugh to the stage.
Thank you. How's everybody doing today? Good. I don't know about you, but whenever I walked in here, I don't know, I felt like a sense of excitement, and it felt like I was going to my family's house for like a Sunday dinner. Being able to get this many veterans together and their family members is it's an amazing thing, and I don't get to do it quite often. I wish I got to do it every single day. I know we have veterans here from all eras, from all branches, and I just want to say sorry to all of you that are here that didn't have the opportunity to serve in the Marine Corps. That was for you. No, I'm kidding. It's amazing to be here, and we need to remember why we're here. Not just for all of our service, but because we have somebody like Representative Dowling that was willing to put an event like this on. You look at everything that's going on in our country, and you see all of these politicians, and which of them really truly cares about our veterans and their family members? And I can honestly say that Representative Dowling is one of them, or I wouldn't be here right now. I've known him for a long time, and ever since he's been in office, I've noticed that one of his top priorities is not only recognizing our veterans and their family members, but reaching out to them and putting on events like this and making sure that we have everything that we need in order to lead a successful life. And I just wanted to thank him for putting this on, him and his team. They don't have to do anything like this. They don't have to. It's not in their job description. They're not required by the state. They don't ever have to talk about veterans if they don't want to. But he does this because he cares. So if we can give a round of applause to Representative Dowling. So as I came in, I was talking to a few people. I didn't get to talk to everybody. I like to move around whenever I talk. I wish I had a handheld mic. But just talking to some of the other veterans that were in here, I could tell that everybody, the sense of pride whenever you step in this room. You see all the hats, specifically our Vietnam and Korean veterans. Our Korean veterans are often forgotten, and they went through some extraordinary things during their time of service. And our Vietnam veterans, I speak all over the country. I went over and done some stuff outside of the country, and every time that I speak, I make sure that I talk about our Vietnam veterans. And I'm going to share this with you. The sole reason that I was treated the way that I was treated when I came home, like a hero, even though I don't look at myself that way, the sole reason that I was treated that way is because of our Vietnam veterans and what they went through, and the way that they were treated when they came home. I have to make a joke, and I don't know if this is the right time or place to make this joke, but I'm sure you guys will get it. I always tell people that if I was alive back then, during the Vietnam War, and I saw the stuff that was going on when our veterans came home, I wouldn't be in front of you right now because I'd be in jail for life, because I would have ended up losing it on somebody, because nobody deserves to be treated that way. When you think about it, the bigger picture, people are often so closed-minded. You did this or you did that, but what they seem to forget is most of our veterans didn't have a choice. They were drafted. You're told to do things by your country, whether you believe it or not. That doesn't really matter. What matters is you were told to serve your country. This is the job that you're supposed to do, and you do it because that's what we do. We serve our country. We come back home, and we become a productive member of society. That's why we're here. And to see our veterans get treated that way, not personally, but to hear the stories from some of you guys, I can't imagine. And I just want to thank you, men and women personally, for taking care of me whenever I came home. And hopefully nothing like that ever happens again. And if I have anything to do with it, I'll make sure that all of our veterans coming home were treated the way that I was. So thank you to our Vietnam veterans as well. I want to share a little bit about my story. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I don't like talking to that thing. So, I don't know if you guys have heard, my story, but I wanted to share a little bit with you about, some of the things that I went through. And the reason I'm telling you this is so you can kind of get an idea of the men and women that I served with. Not necessarily about, what I did or what I went through, but the type of men and women that I served with. And another key point that I want to make are the other men that I served with from Afghanistan. So we had the Afghanistan Army attached to us. We had about 20 of their soldiers that lived with us and went on patrols with us, slept with us, ate with us, and they were some pretty amazing people. You see all this stuff on the news. People put this picture in your head that if you're from the Middle East, you're a bad person, or you're from Afghanistan, you're a bad person. You're from Iraq, you're a bad person, and that's not the truth at all. So I was on my second deployment in Afghanistan. I was a squad leader, so I had 15 Marines that were under my care, and my sole job was to train them, get them ready for the deployment, take them overseas, and make sure all of them come home. I was 21 years old at the time. I know most of you in here probably had the same amount of responsibility when you were in. So the only thing that I was really worried about was making sure that I brought all of my guys home and that we treated the people over there fairly and with respect, because a lot of them wanted us there. They wanted us to protect them. The very small amount of people that wanted to do bad things were also doing bad things to their own people, and they wanted help, and we recognized that right away. So I was on a patrol, actually the first time that I'd ever really experienced anything, combat-wise. And our platoon sergeant, been in the Marine Corps for 20 plus years. It was his last deployment. Married, had a 9-year-old daughter at home, and we were constantly getting shot at from the same building every day. First month we were there, constantly getting shot at. So we said, you know what? Why don't we blow this building up? If we blow it up, they can't shoot at us from it. Easy day. So we dropped a bomb, blew it up, and I don't know if you guys know how the Marine Corps works, but usually they don't do the smartest things. We're usually not the smartest people. They kind of just tell us to do stuff, and we don't ask questions. We go and do it, and we try as hard as we can, and hopefully it ends up working out. Well, blew up the building. It was destroyed. We dropped, 2,000-pound bomb on the building, and for some reason, our battalion commander wanted us to go assess the building. And I got on the radio, and I said, "Sir, we just dropped a 2,500-pound bomb on it. There's nothing there. There's nothing to look at." And he said, "Well, I want you guys to go check it out." "Roger that, sir. We're going to go check it out." So I grabbed a couple of my guys, Staff Sergeant Silva being one of them, and we went down and assessed the building, and we found what we were looking for, which was absolutely nothing. And it started to get dark, and we didn't want to be outside in dark. IEDs everywhere, mines in the ground. You can't, you have a hard enough time seeing them in the sunlight. So we didn't want to be outside in the dark and have somebody step on one. So we took a shortcut back, which was, our first mistake. We should have went back the same way we came in. We knew that it was clear. So I'm the third guy in the patrol, 2 guys in front of me. Staff Sergeant Silva's right behind me. We're walking down a narrow hallway with, mud huts on each side and walls. So we turn the corner. As soon as we turn the corner, there's an explosion. And, I got thrown through the wall, woke up like a minute later, and I thought that I'd stepped on the IED, and then I stood up and realized, I still had my feet, so obviously I didn't step on it. So I'm looking around, and I see Staff Sergeant Silva. He's in a hole like 4 or 5 feet deep. He had stepped on the IED, missing his, right leg above the knee. His arm was all messed up, stomach, everything. It was, one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life, and the first time I've ever seen anything like that. Immediately training kicks in, jump on him, grab my med kit, pull out a tourniquet, put it on his leg. We're talking to him, call for a medevac, and what really changed my life forever from that point on. I can honestly say, and I'm 100% okay with admitting this and talking about this, that up until that point in my life, and I'm sure some of you experienced this, everything was about me. I was worried about my career. I was worried about my life. I wanted to make sure I did everything that I could do for me. And it was selfish of me, but I didn't realize it at the time. And what changed me was the fact that he was laying there on the ground, almost dead, and all he cared about was us, the Marines that were around him. Rumbar, are you okay? Chavis, are you okay? Walker, are you okay? You guys good? If I don't get through this, make sure you tell my daughter, that I love her. I died doing what I love, serving my country. And that, stuck with me forever. And I said, from this point on, it's no longer just going to be about me. It's going to be about the Marines around me, the men and women in my life, people I don't even know. What can I do for somebody else? The helicopter landed. 20 minutes later, threw him on my back, carried him to the helicopter, put him on. They took off, and we thought for sure that he wasn't going to make it. We get a call a week later. Staff Sergeant Silva's back in Germany. He made it to the hospital. He's going to make the flight back to the U.S. and chances are he's going to make it. And that was the best news we had heard all that deployment. And the reason I tell you that story is because it really changed my life. It really did. Just that one moment. I don't know if any of you knew me before the Marine Corps, but I wasn't always, the best person. I didn't always do the right thing, and I'm okay with admitting that. And telling you that all it takes is one moment in your life to change everything, and that's really what changed everything for me. So we fast forward 3 months to the date that I had gotten hurt, November 29, 2010, and we were actually living in a house in Afghanistan. The Taliban were living in it, and it was just south of our base. So our base was up on a hill, and there were villages on each side. And we got intel from one of the locals that the Taliban were actually living in this house. There's like 12 or 15 of them, and they would rotate out just like we did with their guys. So we went down to the building and told them that they were late on their mortgage, and forced them to move out. We evicted them really quickly and set up a base inside of their base, which really upset them, made them really, really mad that we did that. But we wanted to have a constant presence inside of this village to help the people that were there, because the people that lived around our base truly wanted us there. I don't know any stories that any of you have heard, but these people actually wanted us there, and they actually did help us, and they wanted to do the right thing, and it made our job that much easier. So we were living in the house, and I would send out a group of Marines every hour to do a security patrol around the building. The building that we were living in didn't have a roof or anything like that, so they could sneak up at night and throw grenades over the walls or put IEDs in. So we wanted to make sure that they couldn't do that. So I sent out a team of Marines, and within 10 minutes of them being out, there was an explosion. And at this point, we knew exactly what it was. It was like day 90 of the deployment, and we had found almost one IED every day that we were there. So we knew what it was. Call comes over the radio. Lance Corporal Chavis stepped on an IED. He's missing both of his legs. We need a medevac. We need help down here right away. And just to give you an idea of, once again, the men that I served with, I, grabbed the radio, said, "All right, Roger, we're coming down. I need a couple guys." And a couple of my guys come running up. There was about 5 of us. And one of my guys, Lance Corporal Hagan, didn't even put shoes on. He was eating his lunch, took his boots off. He literally threw on his body armor, grabbed his rifle, and sprinted down with me barefoot in the middle of Afghanistan. That shows you the type of person that he was. So we get down there, and they're inside of a courtyard. One entry, one exit, right away. I recognize that they did this for a reason. They know that we're not going to leave one of our fellow Marines in there to die. We're going to send somebody in to go get them, with the hope of them hoping that the guy that we send in steps on another IED. So I made a decision. Sure, all the other veterans in here have made these types of decisions. When you're in a position of leadership, you lead from the front and not from the rear. It would have been just as easy for me to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to stand security over here. Hagan, you go in, pull him out. And as soon as I thought that, I said, you know what, I know what the right thing to do is. I got to go in and get it. So I grabbed the stretcher, started walking in towards him, and one of my friends was on the other side with Lance Corporal Chavis, helping keep him alive. And he was actually directing me like where to step, because he had just walked through there. You know, hey, step to the left, 5 inches. So I did that. Step to the right, 3 inches. Okay, you're good. And then on that third step, I triggered a secondary IED. It felt like it blew me up in the air, and I did 5 backflips, landed on my back, and I tried to stand up. Couldn't stand up. Tried again, couldn't stand up. That's when I looked down and I noticed, my left leg was gone below the knee. My right leg amputated at the hip. My stomach, blown open, broke my arms, collapsed both of my lungs, was blind for a little while. It wasn't that serious. I was still breathing, right? That's a good thing. So out of everything, side note, funny story, out of everything that had happened, I'm sure you guys will agree with this, I wasn't too worried about my legs being gone, the fact that I couldn't breathe, or that I couldn't see. The only thing that I was really worried about is the tip of my trigger finger was gone, so that meant I couldn't even shoot back anymore. So I'm really of no use to the Marine Corps. You guys can laugh, I make jokes all the time, it's all right. So I'm laying on the stretcher, and they're working on me, and I can see everybody talking to me, and the picture that I got in my head was I'm definitely not making it through this. Just by seeing how they were acting, they didn't think that I was going to make it. So the helicopter lands, and my buddies are carrying me, 2 on each end on the stretcher. Another funny story. If you're one of those 4 guys carrying the stretcher, you have one job, right? Carry the wounded guy from point A to point B. What's the one thing you don't want to do? Drop them. Well, that too. You don't want to drop them. So I'm sure you can imagine what happened. They're carrying me. We're on a hill. My buddy, Sergeant Skipper, decides he wants to trip and fall and drop me, and I start rolling down this hill in Afghanistan. He's freaking out, starts crying, runs down the hill, puts me on his back, puts me on a helicopter, and I pass out, and I wake up 2 weeks later back in the United States. The reason I told you that leads to another story. We all have bad days, right? Somebody looks at you in the face and tells you, I've never had a bad day in my life, they're lying. Don't be friends with them. Everybody has bad days. I have bad days all the time. People look at me, specifically from Uniontown. They look at my social media, Facebook, Instagram, and they always say how amazing my life is and how great it is, and how they wish that I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. They don't see the other stuff that goes on. So when I have a bad day, I wait until about midnight, and I give Sergeant Skipper a phone call. He's out of the Marine Corps now. He's married, has 3 kids, and because we could go months, years without talking. We call one of our guys. It's like we never lost any time. So he wakes up, answers the phone, and he's kind of freaking out, like, hey, everything okay? You normally don't call me this late at night. I said, yeah, no, I'm good. I just had a bad day. Remember that time we were in Afghanistan? He's like, yeah, what time are you talking about? I said, well, whenever I got my legs blown off, and you were supposed to carry me, and you decided to drop me, and you almost killed me. When he starts crying, I hang up the phone, I go to sleep, and I'm good for at least another 2 weeks before I got to come on the line. So the point that I'm making is, we all have bad days, we all have bad days. But at least you weren't that guy or that girl carrying one of your friends that was almost dead and dropped them at the worst possible time in your life. So what I'm saying is it could always be worse. Like my situation, I lost both of my legs. You know what? That sucks. There's no way around it. It sucks. Is life harder? Yes. Is it impossible? No. I was at the hospital with men and women that lost 2 legs and an arm, 2 legs and 2 arms. Men and women that lost both of their arms, men and women that took 1 piece of shrapnel to their brain and they can't feed themselves. And even worse, men and women that didn't get the opportunity to come home. So I stand in front of you saying, you know, what excuses do I have? I don't have any. So I say to you guys, what excuses do you have? You shouldn't have any. Whatever you've went through, somebody else has went through it or worse, and they found a way to get through it. Simple as that. There's really no other way to put it. So I made it back to the hospital, and I ended up living there for about 2 years at the old Walter Reed. I don't know if any of you have ever been there, were patients there. But when I got there, it was the same hospital that you guys would have went through. I was there for about 9 months. They shut it down and transferred us to the new hospital. You know, I had to learn how to walk, do all those things. Whenever, I remember, I just actually posted a picture with one of my friends from when we were at the hospital sitting in a wheelchair, and I was about 65 pounds, like 2 or 3 weeks after I'd gotten hurt. And it just reminded me, you know, where I was to where I'm at now. And, you know, just being there with the other men and women and seeing what they were going through, you know, motivated me to do something with my life. And I had no idea that whenever I retired and I moved back here, you know, I could have went anywhere in the country, could have lived anywhere. But I decided to come back to Uniontown. I don't know what was telling me to come back here, but something was, and it was the best decision I ever made. People have their own opinion, they can say whatever they want, but because I made it anywhere in my life, it's because I decided to come back here. It's because of the people that are here, the veterans that are here, our Korean veterans, our World War II, our Vietnam veterans, our Desert Storm veterans. It's because of those people, because of you guys, that I'm actually able to lead a happy, successful life. There's no other way around it. If I wouldn't have come back here, who knows where I would have ended up in my life. And that's the God's honest truth. You know, I'm able to live a good life. You know, I work literally 7 days a week. We have, you know, a million things going on. We just started a construction business. I've never done construction in my life. But you know what, I wanted to do something different. So we started a construction business. We have our nonprofit, it's about the Warrior Foundation. I just got done with the campaign. I was a political director for Paul Mango. He was running for governor. Never did politics ever in my life. Somehow landed that position and learned what our politicians go through. And I'll tell you this right now, it is probably the hardest job you could ever have in your life. That's why I give Representative Dowling all the respect in the world. They're on call 24/7. You know, not everybody's going to agree with you. I'm sure he could tell you about some of the letters that he gets or the messages that he gets because somebody doesn't agree with him. So, you know, that's why I'm here today, for people like you and for people like him. And, you know, I'm going to stand beside him for as long as he decides he wants to be in politics, because we need more people like him. We need more people like you guys to step up and to be a part of something. Once we, you know, realize that it's not just about us, it's about everybody else and what we can do to help those people, the easier and the better life gets. But I want to end it there, and I just want to say thank you to all of our veterans, our Korean veterans, our Vietnam veterans, our Desert Storm veterans, our World War II veterans, men and women. You guys are the reason that I'm here today, and I know that, you know, for the rest of my life, anything that I accomplish, anything that I do is because of you men and women. And I want you guys to remember that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Corporal Rumbaugh, for your service and for your courage to tell your story. Now is the time of the program where we ask for all veterans to stand as you're able and to be recognized when your hymn is played. Maestro, strike up the band. The band's still warming up off-site. Our final speaker this afternoon is our host, State Representative Matthew Dowling.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you all so much for coming out as we celebrate our veterans today. It's always extra special to see our community come together to honor the men and women who have sacrificed so much for us and for our country. We want the veterans with us today to know how deeply they are appreciated, and you really are. You know, Pennsylvania is blessed to be home to more than 900,000 veterans, ranking us 4th in the nation for population of veterans. Locally, there are more than 6,000 veterans in Somerset County, which I represent, and more than 11,000 veterans in Fayette County, each of which represents a little over 8% of our county's population. We too are fortunate to have so many veteran heroes living among us each and every day. You know, you who are veterans here in this room, you've inspired generations by your work, by your commitment, by your dedication to the Commonwealth and to our nation. You, our veterans, are what make our country great. And America really is great. There's nowhere else in the world I would want to live. Now, is America perfect? Not by any means. But we are blessed to live in a country where every citizen, regardless of gender, race, or religion, is afforded the opportunity and frankly has the responsibility to strive to make it better. No one has lived up to that responsibility more than our veterans. We talk about those inalienable rights we have as Americans: the right to free speech, to worship, to own a firearm. We have always been taught that these rights are guaranteed to us by our Constitution. But the truth is that our Constitution, as wonderful as it is just an ideal. Without the resolve of men and women willing to fight and die for these ideals, many of these freedoms might not still exist today. Charles M. Province, a U.S. Army veteran, says it best in his poem titled, "It's a Soldier." And in that poem he writes, "It is the soldier, not the minister, who has given us the freedom to religion. It is the soldier, not the reporter, who has given us the freedom of press. It is the soldier, not the poet, who has given us the freedom of speech. It is soldier, not the campus organizer, who has given us the freedom to protest. It is the soldier, not the lawyer, who has given us the right to a fair trial. It is the soldier, not the politician, who's given us the right to vote. And it is the soldier who salutes the flag, who serves beneath the flag, and whose coffin is draped by the flag, who allows the protesters to burn that very flag." And I say amen to that, because throughout history, America has faced many threats from enemies abroad. Each time these foreign enemies sought to undermine our great Constitution, and each time they were overcome by brave American soldiers. I'd shudder to think what our lives would be like, what our nation and our world would be like without your service to this country. But sadly, many people are too quick to overlook or dismiss the contributions to our freedom that veterans have made. There are those who take for granted the lifestyle that we enjoy in America because they do not realize how lucky we really are and how close we've come in the past to losing the freedoms that we enjoy today. For those of you who engaged in combat in places like the Middle East, Vietnam, Korea, or Europe, you've seen firsthand what tyranny can do to a society, how despotism can drain the spirit of a people, how oppression can destroy humanity, and how desperation can denigrate society and civility. Our way of life and our freedoms are fragile. If we are not ever vigilant, it can slip away from us before we're even aware. Although our situation is always tenuous, I have the faith in America's fate because of the bravery and dedication of our servicemen and women, both past and present. For those of us who never served in the military, I believe that we are duty-bound to respect and publicly honor those who did serve. We must spread the word that America has not remained a free nation for 236 years by accident, but by hard work and by the sweat and blood of American soldiers. I want to thank each and every one of you for what you've done for this country and for each and every one of us here today. Thank you for your courage, your grit, and your loyalty to America. You, our veterans, are heroes through and through. Perhaps you don't see yourselves that way, but you surely are. Consider these words that are offered by former Oregon Governor Thomas McCall. Heroes are not giant statues framed against a red sky. They are people who say, this is my community, and it's my responsibility to make it better. As veterans, you take pride in our community and in our country. You take seriously the responsibility to make the world a better place, a safer place, not just for your family, but for every single person across this Commonwealth and for every single person in these United States of America. You took so responsibly and so seriously that responsibility that you were willing to make the ultimate sacrifice. And many of your fellow veterans did just that. It simply doesn't get more heroic. At this time, I'd ask if any of and all of our veterans of our armed forces here today would please stand. And if anyone's still serving, would you please stand as well? I want to personally applaud all of you for your service. Thank you. Today we say thank you, but there's more that we can do. Each and every one of us must honor your dedication and your sacrifice with the way we live our lives each and every day. There's no better way to thank veterans than by appreciating and taking full advantage of the precious rights that you have all defended. I thank you for being here. You can be seated. Thank you. So there's no greater way that we can thank you than by exercising our rights. And that means by voting in every election, by writing letters to the editor of your local paper. People love to do that about me. By volunteering your time for a worthy cause, fulfilling your jury duty, being a volunteer firefighter, mentoring a child, and simply being a good American. Then all veterans will be proud to know that their sacrifices, the sacrifices they made, were not made in vain. That the rest of us not only thank them in word, but in deed as well. Another way to honor our veterans is to pray for their safety. And we did open in prayer. We will close in prayer today, but I'd ask that you join me now in a moment of silent prayer for our veterans. Amen. Today we honor every soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, and Coast Guardsman who gave some of the best years of their lives to the service of the United States and stood ready to give life and limb on our behalf. It has been said that a nation reveals itself not only by the people it produces, but also by the people it honors, the people it remembers. Ladies and gentlemen, you have accomplished extraordinary things. And you have the eternal gratitude of a very grateful community, very grateful Commonwealth, and a very grateful nation. May God bless you all, and I thank you again for your service. Today we're going to take a moment to recognize each veteran here with a certificate, a pin, and one of my favorite things that we get to hand out to you is a note that is written and colored by elementary school students in our community. In honoring our veterans, our office thinks that it's important to also let the young people of our community honor you, so you'll be receiving one of those hand-colored pieces. We'll be recognizing our veterans by branch, and we'd ask for you to please come forward as David calls your name.
Begin with the United States Air Force. Scott Baker. George Barnhart. Kenneth Herbert. Ronald Hoburn. James Prick. Joanne Korchak. Ronald Smith. Karina Walters. Ronald Hoburn.
I was already up there,
United States Navy. Melvin Breakiron. Jesse Heinbaugh. Samuel Hobie. Mitchell Kell. Carl Moss. Steve Minnick. Kenneth Rockwell. Melvin Sandy. John Skosick. William Walters. United States Marines. Charles Cole. James Edenfield. Daryl Ford. Nyla Rowe. Brandon Rumbaugh. David Snyder. Bill Spade. Nelson Upol. United States Army. Diana Bakich. Ronald Burden. Harold Crossland. Gregory Danko. Carl DeLuca. Mark Dorley. Ralph Doyle. Ronald Dula. James Evans. Gilbert Floyd. Kevin Ford. Ted France. Thomas Gibson. Dorothy Goldberg. Barb Harmon. Steve Hartsick. John Hoffman. Gary Hughes. Donald Inks. Charles Jackson. Paul Casey. Jack Lewis. Pam Marker. Charles Matei. Darwin Miller. Huey Mogils. Richard Morrison. Greg Palco. Louis Pentala. Elliot Reiser. Joseph Siemens. David Snyder.
Honor got mine from Marine Corps.
Larry Stavish.
Yeah.
Francis Steve.
He's not here.
George Steve. Philip Steve. Don Strasser. John Whitlatch. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Pat Stefano sends his regards. He is with his son Nathan at the Keystone Boys State graduation in Shippensburg. Also, he wished to thank the American Legion for their recent sponsorship of the Keystone Boys State. The Senator does work close with Representative Dowling on a number of issues, and I know he wanted to be here today to help celebrate our veterans. Wanted everyone to please save the date. On November 11th, Veterans Day, there will be a concert at 3 o'clock, the Warriors Rock Concert at Connersville High School. Veterans are able to attend that show for free. General admission tickets for everyone else is $20. Today until 10 o'clock in the evening, the Relay for Life takes place at Penn State Fayette. Of course, that's organized by the American Cancer Society. I'd like to give special thank yous in recognition to the Uniontown Mall, Stonehouse Inn, Brandon Rumbaugh, Twin Oaks Home Care, Chevron, Sister Mary Margaret Dooley, Hopwood AMVETS, and the Catholic War Veterans. Representative Dowling.
Thank you, guests, for your participation. In just a moment, we're going to close our ceremony with a benediction and the retiring of the colors. However, I would be remiss if I didn't take a brief moment to thank some of the people who made today possible, and I know David has already done that. I'd also call your attention to our thank you signs that are throughout the room, but a very special thank you to the Uniontown Mall. We were afraid of inclement weather for today. We did have a rain location due to some miscommunication. We were double booked, so at about 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, we had to find a place to move all of you, maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the mall was so generous to open up this space for us. So we thank them very, very much. Thank you to Ron on their staff and their director, Pam Moore. Let's give them a round of applause. And first and foremost, another thank you to all of you, our veterans, for your service. At this point in time, I'm going to ask that Dave Sosarek return to the podium. David, if it's okay with you, I would invite you to offer our benediction prior to the retirement of colors.
If you all would bow your heads with me. Dear Father in heaven, thank you for bringing us all together today. Thank you for each of these men and women that have done what they felt in their heart was their duty. We thank you for their service and their spirit of sacrifice. May it remain with us and inspire us in our daily life. We ask you to be present and send your spirit into the lives of these men and women with us today. Offer them comfort and hope in their life, and offer them peace and good health. We pray for the food we're about to partake in. Please allow it to nourish us. Please bless our conversation today and all of our travels. In your holy name we pray. Amen. Thank you all once again, and this concludes our ceremony, and lunch will now be served by the historic Stonehouse Inn. Folks, we may need to move some chairs over to the dining area to accommodate everyone. Thank you. Any veteran that did not receive a certificate today, please see Amanda at the center counter. Thank you. Now everyone, please rise as we retire the colors.
Reason. Hello. Sir, Albion and Junior ROTC color guard expect permission to retire color, sir.
Permission granted, sir.
Thank you, sir. Order. Center. Face. Over. Color guard. Halt. Center. Face. Reason. Order. Retire. Color. Center. Face. Forward. Color guard. Halt. Center. Face. Post. Forward. Over.
Thank you. Thank you. Now let us break bread together.